we may be live from, well, there are three things to wait on. So,
Oh my God.
so
I know
first,
what I know what you're saying though. I know
yeah,
what you're
first you hit start streaming in OBS, then Facebook fetches the stream, and then you hit the go live button. And now we are live. Wonderful. All right, everybody. Today I've got Katya Sarmiento with me. And I am very excited because she has been revolutionizing people's businesses. Hey, Jaden, you know about that, don't you? And she
We had a
has
call
been,
with Jaden today.
yeah, she's been making tremendous difference in people's businesses. And hey, it's one of my favorite people too. Yeah. And then let's see. We're just going to be going through basically all the things that you need to do to become a free EO. So the different systems that you need in place, the people that you need in place, and how you need them in place, and how to set those people up for success. I have hired several people that I thought were going to be my operations manager, for instance, and it just hasn't worked out. And it's because I'm not a great manager in the first place. I'm like pure visionary from the Gino Wickman Rocket Fuel book. That's me 100% of the way. And so there's been a lot of stuff that I just didn't know how to do. Mm-hmm. And so I've turned good employees into bad employees through mismanagement. Mm-hmm. I've lacked oversight in various systems that would have told me a lot about my business. I've made... Oh, goodness. I mean, hopefully I'm getting close to the end of the book of mistakes.
Oh, no, you're not. Everyone makes...
I know I'm not. There will always be new
We've all
mistakes
made
to
those
make.
mistakes. Trust me, I made my fair share.
Yep.
Still do many times.
Right. But making those mistakes cheaper and cheaper rather than more and more expensive, that's a big goal of mine, a really big goal. And I'm so excited to be working with Katya, not just as... she's a client of mine, but I'm a client of hers now as well. Yes. We were kind of inside the group program to see, okay, how is this going to work? What exactly are we selling? Let's make sure we're really tuned in. And very quickly realized, oh man, I want to be in this. This is absolutely for me. So Katya, why don't you tell us a little bit about your, do you want to start telling us about Reach and Make Millions or Seven Figure Freedom Accelerator, and like which way do you want to go with this?
Let's start with the company and then go into
okay.
Yeah. So Reach and Make Millions is my company that I've been running for 7 years. It's had different names, different variations, but it's been basically the container of Reach and Make Millions. And so at this point, I have been helping six-figure entrepreneurs scale up to seven figures. Mm-hmm. And by the way, side note, I woke up with really bad allergies. So if I sound stuffed up or weird, or if you see me drinking, this is not like alcohol. This is orange juice. I'm almost done with it.
Mine will be alcohol. Yeah.
But just a side note, if I sound kind of weird.
This is like that thing girls do when, like, as long as they say, "Oh man, I stink," then nobody else can call them out on it, right? It's the same thing, right?
Well, I don't go around stinking.
Yeah.
So I don't know what girls you hang out with, Jeremy, but
no, like girls that have just gotten back from the gym or something like that.
Oh
and they
my
haven't had
God!
Time to change.
There's these things called good wipes. You just wipe yourself down and you smell fresh.
Nice.
System number 1, post gym. We're jumping right in.
You have a system for everything. All right.
Yeah. So that's actually how Reach and Make Millions started, because I grew up in technology, and like I used to code MySpace layouts. Like I was studying programming. Like my dad has a company and I would help him build websites on Front Page. So I've always done this, but Reach and Make Millions came to be when I was 18 years old and actually followed my lawyer's instructions and set up, the business entity.
Right.
But I've been freelancing since I was like 13 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so I love this stuff and I'm really good at it,
Yeah.
And so now it's been, really important for me to help the six-figure entrepreneurs, because I'm burping up orange juice. This is great. I've helped
Best
a lot
interview
of
yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We are not going to be bored watching this one, guys. Not on
Right.
systems. But I've helped a lot of corporations. I've helped a lot of 7-8-figure companies set up systems and team and stuff. But I'm realizing very quickly that the people that need the most help are the 6-figure entrepreneurs. And that's the best place to start because you can be preventative versus cleaning up. Like I just come in usually for corporations and bigger companies as cleanup crew. Like, we did all of this over the past years, a couple of years or whatever. And now we need.
How long will it take to clean up the disaster area?
Yeah. And it's harder to like, there's more at stake. So people feel more nervous about setting up systems. So I kind of pivoted over to 6-figure entrepreneurs because I feel like, curing, like for example, like you can cure cancer or you can prevent cancer. Both are great. Both have different situations. I wanted to take the preventative approach and give people what they need before they need it and before they make the very expensive mistakes that we've all made.
Yeah.
So, and Jaden is in here. We call it brainwashing. I'm brainwashing people.
No. You're training young businesses to grow up right.
It's brainwashing. It's brainwashing.
Fine. Yeah. Okay. It's brainwashing. Brainwash me. Whatever.
We like to have fun and reach and make millions. I think there's just a lot in the industry right now of like make 7 figures and like make like a lot of money building this funnel and stuff like that. And like a lot of that stuff works, but like 7 figures isn't fun if you're not profitable and if you don't have freedom. Which is where 7-figure freedom accelerator came from, which is, I want to get you to 7 figures, but we're going to do it the right way the first time with freedom in mind. And that's the most important thing.
Yep.
So that was a long tangent to answer your question.
That was directly in line. That was exactly what I was wanting. We've noticed that with the closing engine, there's a fair amount of cleanup that needs to happen. And it's been interesting at like every area that we look at. I'm like, oh, I thought I was great on that. And there's cleanup that needs to happen. And it's been really enlightening already. It's been fascinating. But going through your onboarding system, Mark Firth, another client of yours and a friend of mine, he was telling me her onboarding is so on point. I'm like, okay. Cool. I'll look forward to seeing that. And then when I got into it, I was like, now I see what he's talking about. Like about the 6th item that came through. I was like, this is bringing a lot of clarity here. Okay. I like that. So
yeah, clarity for both of us. Cause I feel like that's the other thing with systems. And what's really important for me for Reach and Make Millions. Well, first off, it's reach millions. Also, people like miss that step. People think about the money, but I really want to think about impact too. And I can't impact people if I don't know what's going on, which is kind of funny because it's like I've worked with people that didn't ask me any questions, didn't onboard me at all, and just gave me something. I'm like, this isn't even what I asked for. It's not even aligned. So there's a huge disconnect because you didn't ask me any questions, and I have all the answers for you. You know how I am.
Right.
You know how I am. With your onboarding, I had all the answers. I had pages upon pages of information. And I just feel like with Reach and Make Millions, I want to customize the systems for people, even though it's a group program. Like systems are going to look different for different people. And I work with a lot of marketing agencies, but also with consultants and coaches and stuff like that. And corporations look even different. And like local businesses look different. Yeah. If I don't know what's going on, then I can't help. I can tell you, use Asana all day long. I don't know if it's going to work for you. That's why when somebody asks me, oh, what system would you set up for this? I tell them I'm tool agnostic. Yeah. And that I'm not going to tell them what tool I use because then they're going to think that's the best tool in the world and that they should use it because I'm an influencer apparently. And then they're going to set it up. I'm like, you don't know if it's going to work for you. It works for me, but might not for you. You might be better somewhere else. And so not a lot of people do that in this industry, like take the time to get to know their clients. And I feel like client onboarding is really important to me to be able to understand what's going on and be able to give the best advice and implementation possible.
Right. Okay.
The comments are hilarious, but
are they?
Yeah, Jaden's agreeing. Brainwashing with systems for sure.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well,
Michelle is in here.
You've got to him. Of course he's going to agree. He's pre-washed.
Jaden and I have been working for over a year now, or a year.
Yeah.
So it's, I like, and that's the other thing. It's like, I'm going to stick by my people for as long as I need to get them to seven figures and to set up the systems. Yeah. I don't believe in short-term quick fixes. Systems are not a short-term easy quick fix. It is
anything that needs maintenance. If it can need maintenance by leaving it sitting alone and it starts to rust digitally, there's not going to be any kind of short-term about that.
And people try to duct tape their systems together, and I'm like, you're causing a bigger problem than not even setting this up.
Yep.
Right now, because then you're going to have to switch over to something else, or it might break something that's crucial for your business. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. And the same thing, hiring a team member really, really quick out of desperation is not a good place to be.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of what entrepreneurs do, because no one teaches this stuff.
Usually what they do, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I've done it.
Because, the need sneaks up on them. The need sneaks up because you don't have your eyes on that thing. And so you don't even notice there's a problem until it's an emergent problem. Okay, now we solve the emergency. And, well, when you put out fires, a lot of times the more expensive damage to the house is the water damage afterwards, like with the solution. It had to happen, but boy, it's expensive.
Yep.
So being able to spot these things beforehand. Speaking of... one of the topics that we're hitting today is what it means to scale your business and why most entrepreneurs get it wrong. I want to talk about that, and then the different components of scaling, especially let's focus today on digital service providers, because that's most of the audience in this group. Okay. People with a service offering, either done for you or a consulting kind of thing. So not too dissimilar to the position that you and I sit in, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
What kind of systems are they going to need? What kind of visibility into their business are they going to need? How do they marry those things? And then I know there are an awful lot of different pieces here, so please let me know what I'm missing here as well. Yeah. I'm an eager student here.
Yeah. So this is usually the first thing I talk about, because there's a lot of confusion in the industry as far as what scaling means.
Yeah.
What most people, when you see like a topic or a title where somebody's saying scale your business to seven figures, I'm going to tell you what they really mean is grow your business to seven figures. And there's a huge difference between growth and scale. So
I think what they mean is get a bunch of leads and sell a bunch of programs, and you'll be at seven figures in revenue. I think that's about all they mean. And whether that's counted in growth or not, I don't know.
So growth, like the literal definition of growth is to grow, to add a certain number. That's probably revenue, profit, clients, leads, whatever. You're growing in that area. A lot of people focus on that growth of like, okay, I need more clients, or I need more money, or I need more leads, or whatever. And that's what they mean to get to seven figures. Yes, you can totally grow to seven figures. You're going to drive yourself nuts.
Yeah. Yep.
I've seen it happen. Scaling, on the other hand, the definition of scaling a business is scalability is like your capacity or ability to handle the growth that's happening.
Yes.
So, oh my God, it's like one of my pet peeves when I see scale to seven figures and then it's like a lead generation program. I'm like, you're not helping anyone scale. You're helping somebody grow, and you're going to drive them nuts because there's no systems whatsoever to handle that influx of growth.
Yeah.
So that's the thing you have to watch out for. And that's how you start to tell, like, okay, do I need systems? Do I need to hire? You need to look at your growth rate, and you need to determine, like, okay, I am growing at this rate. And actually, this happened with Jaden. Jaden, I'm going to use you as an example. He came to me. He's like, I know in January that my business is going to blow up. It's going to grow a lot in clients and in revenue. I want to prepare for it and make sure that I can have the capacity and the ability to handle that growth. So scale. He was looking to scale. Not a lot of people think like that.
Yeah.
People think, okay, all of my problems will be solved when I get more clients and I get more money and I just hire people, because that's what scaling is. But
right.
It's not that simple.
Yeah.
It's not that simple. Every time I say that, I think The Notebook. What do you want?
Yes.
It's not
It is that simple. What do you want? So with the way most people notice this stuff, they don't think like Jaden. They don't think ahead quite that well. I guess it really is a skill looking ahead.
Jaden's special.
He is, yeah. We interviewed him. If you want to learn about local and national Facebook advertising campaigns, go back and listen to Jaden's workshop, and he really gave up a lot of cool stuff on that. So that was a great one. Thank you, Jaden. So with the visibility that most entrepreneurs have, when are they going to notice that they need you? Like, when do most people see that?
Okay, let's forget me. Let's say systems and team.
Or they need systems and scaling.
This isn't about me. This is about systems.
True.
Well, so actually, the reason I say that distinction is because of the forest fires that have been happening in California recently. This has nothing to do with me and everything to do with things like that. Like some people lost their homes. Yeah. Some people like had to be completely uprooted and evacuate. Some people just like had a crazy week, right? There's a huge level of change that happened there for different people. And it's like, I can tell this when hurricanes happen. I can tell this when there's a death or a life transition, a divorce, whatever. I can tell who has systems and who doesn't. Yeah. The people that, don't have systems, like there was somebody that was giving birth and working on her business, like on the laptop in the hospital. There are people with their laptops out in the funeral place. There's people like trying to search for Starbucks while their like home is burning down because they need to work. Like there's no choice in that, and there's no freedom in that. And it's funny because we go from 9-to-5 job to entrepreneur, and we're like, we're awesome. We don't have a 9-to-5. We're not restricted, but we just created a 24/7 job for ourselves, which isn't even healthy because I remember having one meal at like 2 a.m. after finishing work all day and then going to sleep and waking up like 3 hours later to continue working. And I thought that was healthy. Or like I would not go to the bathroom until I finished this one last thing because I just need to finish it. And then I would like, my bladder's like about to explode in pain. And it's just like, we create this unhealthy environment where we have to show up in our business and we're like running ourselves to the ground. And so number one key indicator is starting to burn out and overworking yourself. Like if you're working more than you would at a 9-to-5 job, if you're not having lunch and dinner, if you're not like taking care of yourself, if you don't have like a social life. And honestly, I think like in the beginning, you gotta hustle. Like Gary Vee is specifically targeting like lazy college students that like need to get off their butt and like do some work. And like if you're just starting out, you need to do the work. But once you've hit
there are sprints that happen in any business. There's crunches that happen in any, but that's not what we're talking about. Yeah. But if you're at that point where you have some consistency and stability and you're starting to see that growth, and that can mean like more people are talking about you, you're getting more phone calls in the books, your schedule's getting busier, you're starting to find like you don't have enough time for a lot of things. If your to-do list is like becoming a mile long and just not getting any shorter, oh my God, I remember those days. I remember those yesterday.
Sorry, Jeremy, sorry.
I'm so glad to have you. I'm so glad.
There's like little, and it also like, here's the thing. It also depends on bandwidth. I have a lot of bandwidth. And
I do not have a particular lot of bandwidth. I regard myself as a fairly low energy kind of guy. And I'm not, but that's kind of the perception that I have of myself normally.
I have a lot of energy.
Yeah, you do. You have
a lot
a
of it. And I didn't realize this until I started working with Laura Thompson, my new partner.
Yes. I was very carefully not talking about her until you said it first. Awesome.
Whatever. We'll tell the people here. Secret. 7-page to-do list. I know. I used to have to-do list and Wunderlist and Trello and what was the other one? I had another one. I probably have it here still. No, not Asana. I didn't use Asana back then. Asana sucked when I first used it, and then it got way better.
They really did. Yeah.
I have some more to-do lists. Remember the what? Oh my God, yes.
They were
Yes.
so good way back when. They were like the most
Yes.
full-featured Android version you could find. It was awesome.
Yes, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I had so many to-do lists. I probably had a bunch of iPhone apps too. And
Mm-hmm.
all the to-do lists were important. All of them. I had stuff that I had to do everywhere. It was terrible. But
I counted my to-do list before I started working with you. Maybe 3 months ago, something like that. I counted my to-do list and I had 13 different to-do lists. 13. So
that sounds
I'm
like me.
100% with you. I
sounds like me.
hated it.
I love to-do lists, though. I love them. But they're not helping
yeah.
when you actually need to get stuff done.
It needs to be in a smaller number of to-do lists. Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, ever since I started working with Laura, like I could tell like the way that we work is completely different, and I just like I don't get consumed by things. Like I can do a lot in a day.
Yeah.
And like also like with my boyfriend, I just like actually everyone in my life, I could just do a lot. Now that I think about it, well, but here's the thing also. So okay, it has to do with bandwidth, and it also has to do with what energizes you.
Yeah.
I'm only focused on things that energize me. I can tell
huge. Yeah.
when I feel drained. So like marketing and sales drains me so much. Systems does not. And I actually like doing a lot of admin stuff. I used to be a VA and I loved it. And I couldn't charge hourly because what would take somebody like an hour to do would take me like 5-10 minutes. And I'd be like, oh.
I interviewed a graphic designer, Jimo Flores. I interviewed him the other day, and same thing with him. He's the best and the fastest at the same time.
Yeah.
I've ever met. So,
I started at like $35 an hour and worked my way up, and then I realized this is not working because they're getting me really cheap. But so it's the bandwidth. I have a lot of bandwidth for a lot of different things. I'm also a quick start, so I'm really good at starting projects, not really good at finishing. So I've gotten to know myself and what my energy and my bandwidth and what I love to do and what I don't love to do. And this is always good to do, no matter what stage of business you're in. Right. And if you want a tool recommendation, go to rescuetime.com. It's free. You don't need to pay for it. Install it on your computer, install it on your phone, and then forget about it. A week or two later, check and see what your reports are, and you'll see where you're spending the most time. And for me, it was email, social media, Facebook, and admin tasks. And so I knew I needed to turn on the Facebook newsfeed eradicator. I needed to delete Facebook from my phone. Well, I installed it for this live stream, but I'll delete it right after. And like, you have to think about it. If you want to scale to 7 figures, you have to grow in revenue and in profit. And to grow in revenue and profit, you need to grow in clients and in leads, right? And a lot of people are spending way too much time on tasks and activities that aren't actually going to support that growth, or not hiring the right people to support that growth, or on the other end, focusing like hiring too much or doing too much and then putting their profit even lower, even if their revenue is at some figures, their profit isn't. So there's a couple of different scenarios.
I've done all of those things at some point or another.
Yeah, so this is just called self-awareness. Rescue Time can help. I was in denial of how much time I spent on emails. I still spend a lot of time on emails because I love it. But there's just like, when you look at the reality of where you're spending your time, like I can show you my spreadsheets where it's like, okay, this is how much time I spent on marketing and sales, and this is how much I made, and this is how much I spent on team, and the numbers don't lie. They really don't. At all. And if you're spending a lot of time on admin work, and maybe even like client fulfillment, a lot of the clients that I help with, I try to help them delegate their client fulfillment. And it feels difficult because it feels like the only thing that you can do the best. But I promise you, with good systems, good documentation, good team members, you could delegate everything. People don't really feel that way or believe it because they've tried to go about it the wrong way, but I've seen it happen. I've helped clients do it, even in bigger companies and corporations where there's more at stake and more responsibility. It's possible. And so doing it with the 6-figure entrepreneurs is like piece of cake. It's just you need to do it in the right process.
It's really not just an ego thing. I wondered about that for a while for myself. Like, am I being arrogant that somebody else can't do what I do? And it wasn't. It's that I'd failed a couple of times to have someone doing what I do.
Yeah.
Like the mindset kind of stuff. Like, okay, I need you to think this way while you're doing this stuff. And it was, I didn't have the right processes in place. I didn't have any way to train those people to think like I think. Mm-hmm. And so, of course it failed. Why would it succeed with that? I mean, chances are 1 in 100 that I would have succeeded, just happened upon just the right person who already had the right mindset and the right skill set. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So you just basically said it there. It's the right systems and the right person. Mm-hmm. But you can't expect somebody to just come in and be a superhero magician and just do everything correctly. Like, you actually have to put, like I said, systems not a quick fix. It actually takes time. It actually takes work. But when you set it up, you're setting yourself up for success in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And if you hire a superstar and put them in that situation without systems, they don't feel like they don't have systems. They feel lost. Mm-hmm. And they are lost. Yep. They don't have any way to be guided. Even as we have some systems internally, and I have from time to time thought I was good at them and thought I was bad at them, but I do enjoy dealing with systems and stuff like that when I get the bandwidth for it. Even with some systems, it's very easy for people to come in and feel thrown to the wolves. That's when it comes to employee onboarding, I almost don't believe there's such a thing as overtraining anymore. You know, I haven't seen it in a long time. I haven't seen overtraining for new hires in a long, long time, but I see undertraining constantly.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I try to explain it, and we've talked about this. Mm-hmm. When I was showing my grandmother how to use a PC, I built her a PC, mm-hmm. like one of the old, like Dell gray, beige, white ones, whatever color that was, and with dial-up internet. And I literally sat her there, and I'm like, you see this big circle button right here? Mm-hmm. That's the power button. Yep. You're going to press it. Mm-hmm. And you know what happens when you press it? It turns on the PC. But you know what else you have to do? You have to press this other big button on this other thing called the monitor. You're going to press it, and it's going to turn it on.
Yep.
That's step 1 out of 5.
Right.
Because then the rest, it just keeps going. And I literally had to treat her as if she didn't know anything, but she really didn't. And I think a lot of people assume that when you hire somebody online, they know everything. But I'm going to use Jaden as so many examples today. Mm-hmm. You may hire somebody that knows Facebook ads, for example, but you need to explain Facebook ads in the way that you use it for the clients that you work with, for the results that you get. Like, you have to explain your vision of it and your processes and your way of doing Facebook ads. You just cannot assume, that somebody knows how to do Facebook ads just because they said they have some experience. Like, it's better to overtrain and over-explain and stupid proof things. Or idiot proof, I think. Which one? I think it was idiot proof.
Idiot proof, yeah.
Or grandma proof. Grandma proof your systems.
Sure.
You need to be able to explain it clearly as possible, step by step.
You called out something that most people wouldn't think of as a systems issue, but you mentioned the vision. Explaining the vision is an incredibly, incredibly powerful thing. Mm-hmm. And I would say that probably most of the on-fire founders, they fall into that visionary category in the first place. Mm-hmm. And so don't sell yourself short on that. Being able to communicate the vision and the reasons why you're doing something and the goals that you're after, not just the processes, that seems to be so powerful to enable employees to have the right mindset. Like, they know what they're after. So even if they can't get the perfect result, the result all of you expected, they'll be able to figure out the second best on their own a lot more often when they know what the big goal is.
So here's the ideal situation. Mm-hmm. And this is what I envision for all my clients. Mm-hmm. And this is what I've had to do for bigger companies, but it's harder at that point. So that's why I feel like we're taking a preventative approach. Like, it's a clean slate basically, but The ideal situation is we have the CEO, the business owner. They are the visionary. They are the strategist. They do what they love, which is the strategy and the vision. They come up with ideas. They come up with new innovative ways of growing the business and showing up, whether that's they're the face of the company or, they're improving internal strategies and stuff like that. Kyrie is on. Oh my God. So I was saying this to one of my clients the other day because he's like right there to this point. It's basically they have a vision, they have an idea, they explain it to the team, and the team is the one that executes on that vision.
That's been so hard for me.
The business owner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which takes a lot of communication and empowerment and training up your team to that point, because a lot of people just want somebody to come in and just be able to read minds. That's just not how life works. Like, it's like relationships. It's like, if I don't tell my boyfriend that I want this thing, he's probably not going to do it. But I do this a lot, actually. I'm like, you should have read my mind. You should have known that that's what I wanted. But that's so silly. It's so silly. And we'll like laugh about it or whatever. But that happens in relationships and in business. People are like, well, this VA should have known to do it this way. I'm like, no, absolutely not. No, you need to act like they don't know anything, and you need to build them up. And then the other thing is, like, when you set the vision so clearly, and you've given, if you've empowered your team and you've given your team clear roles and responsibilities, they are able to take your vision and set their own goals and set their own visions and projects and be able to run with it without having to ask you about little questions here and there and how to do this. Like, one of the hardest things for me to do in a company that's already established is empower the team, because if I'm coming into a company, first off, I'm the newbie in the company and I'm the systems expert, and they're like, all right, systems, they're going to be inside this tech thing and do this technical thing that I don't understand. Right. But what I'm really doing is I'm talking to the team and I'm trying to understand what this business owner's vision is and how the team is executing on that. And usually that's not happening at all. And I have to come in, and it's hard because the team is not empowered. The team is actually very disempowered, and they're like, well, I can't make a decision without so-and-so, or I can't do this because I don't know if they're gonna, like, they're just kind of like following along, getting assigned tasks. Like, there's a difference between delegating and leading, and there's a time and place for both. And so, like, yes, there's things that you're going to need to delegate. It's like, hey, this needs to get done. And you also want to be a leader in your business and start shifting into that role where you are allowing your team to, first off, learn from you by example. Second, understand the vision very, very clearly and what the goals are. So you might set a goal of like, okay, we want 7 figures in revenue for this year. How are we going to get there? Instead of assigning them like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that, here you go. Ask them the question and brainstorm with the team, bring the team into it. It's like, here's my vision. How do you think we're going to get there? These are my ideals so far. How can you contribute to that? And then setting those, like, allowing them to contribute. It's kind of like with little kids, like, if you give them like a project that seems like really important, and like, you don't care if they're going to mess it up or not, but you're starting to build their confidence in themselves and your trust in them to be able to do it, it keeps going. And then the kid's really excited. And so something that they normally, like chores, they normally would hate chores, but they feel so excited and it's fun for them. And they feel like they're contributing something to the household. So they're actually going to do chores, which is insane.
What?
So
chores. My brain
chores.
Did not process
Like,
that word the first 3
things.
times. Okay, I got
Like,
it. Sorry.
Washing dishes.
Yeah. I'm very familiar with the word. I just couldn't spell it in my head for a little while there. I don't know why. Okay. Chores. Yeah.
The same thing. Like, it's a difference between like, hey, go wash the dishes, or like, hey, like, let's go to the store and pick out like your favorite dishes. Like, what do you want to eat out of? And like, making it a very special event. It's like, all right, I am responsible for this. You are responsible for making sure these dishes are spotless, so that every time we sit down to eat, we're super excited to eat. I'm just coming up with a silly example. But
I'm with you though. Yeah.
It's like, it becomes more of a shared experience. Like, this is the goal, this is the vision, and you are a part of that as well. And people are going to be more motivated, and they're going to feel like they don't have to come to you for every question. And if they mess up, it's okay, because they're going to take responsibility and ownership for it, and they're going to fix it. Versus, I'm assigning this to you, they mess it up, I'm going to have to come in and review it and spend extra time because I didn't really explain what I wanted here, but this person should have done it right anyways, because that's what I expected and that's what I thought I hired them for, and I think I'm going to fire them and hire somebody else, but then it's experience over and over again.
I've seen that a lot. Yeah. Even where, like, I think we have a really good culture at TCE. Like, I think that's a strong point of ours. I've been blessed by the people that we've got here so much, and honored that they've stuck with us through hard times and good and all this kind of stuff. But even when everybody's on the same team and they're happy with each other in general, it's very easy. Like, that feels like the level that I'm in right now, figuring out how to lead instead of delegate. They can come up with their own projects. Oh, that would be amazing. Yes.
Wait till we get into OKRs.
Right. And I know it's because I've been thinking on the wrong level. And so that means I've been preventing my people from thinking on the right level. Like, I'm setting the tone for everything. And so if I make everything come through me in some way or another, like, not even explicitly, but if I make that available on everything, every piece of the business is different, of course, but my poor thinking is going to limit my people's thinking as well. And so learning to go into that, I was thinking of it in terms of the next level of delegation is not, okay, I've learned how to do this thing. Now I'm going to hand this off and train you to do this thing. Now it's your thing. But I'm going to bring you in to do this thing that I don't know how to do. That was kind of how I was thinking about it. But you're really expanding my thought box here, because it's it's goodness. People starting their own projects and me not having to manage that project, that's way hands off compared to the way that I've been doing things. Wow, that will be very liberating. Yeah.
Well, there's different stages. Like, obviously everyone's first stage is delegation. Like, I just need somebody to help me with this. And like, you'll need certain pieces in certain areas. So like, you'll need good documentation of your processes. You'll need processes and systems. And then clear job descriptions and roles and responsibilities and goals for the company, and vision. Vision's always first. Then once you've started to build up your team and you've started to build this consistency and this culture, which you've done very well, a lot of people have a hard time with that, but building that culture and building the right fit team in the right places, you can start to give power in certain areas to certain people after building that trust and that confidence and that foundation, that foundational level. And so I teach OKRs, objectives and key results.
Right.
And one of the biggest things is you are not assigning an OKR to somebody. They are creating their own OKRs based on the vision that you've set and the goals that you've set. And this allows people.
That's tough. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I know. So that's why, like, you need certain pieces. Like, you're not just like, here you go, here's my whole business, you do whatever you want with it. It's not that. It's a very clear, like, there's been a lot of communication, there's a lot of trust and a lot of confidence in these people. And there's clear systems and processes and documentation, and there's clear roles and responsibilities. So for example, if you have a client account manager who's been managing clients for a year, you bet that they are better at managing clients than you are. And 100%. So if they're in the process every single day and you've been disconnected for a year, who do you think is going to come up with better OKRs, you or them? They are.
Yes. Okay.
They are.
Yes.
They are.
You're right.
And this is where the company really gets to accelerate, because there's just, okay, like, here's a drastic difference that I've seen happen. Yeah. There was a company that I was working with that was like, all of the team members, and you don't know this company, this is corporation. Gotta be careful with that one. Yeah. So there was this I'm like rolling my sleeves up because this was a really big project for me.
Uh-huh.
Their team was just like, it was like a team of zombies. Like they were just like, do this thing, and then they would do it, and they were so miserable. Like the
Yeah.
culture was there, like the team was together, but there was a disconnect between the business owner, the managers, and the team members. And I came in, and there were some people that were amazing at their job and had amazing ideas to improve the business. And they were kind of like, the business was kind of like stagnant in their growth. And so it was really tough. It wasn't overnight at all, but we had to build the trust and confidence between the managers, the business owner, and the team.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And we had to set up certain processes that were missing in systems and documentation. So I had everyone documenting their processes and what they do. Because this is the other thing. If you have somebody like a client account manager managing clients, but their process and their workflow isn't documented, and they up and quit, you're going to need to like start from step one all over from scratch with something new. And that's really rough. You can also have your employees and your contractors outline what they're doing, document what they're doing. If anything changes, they need to update it, and they're responsible for that. That's part of one of the responsibilities for that role.
Right.
But we built up that confidence. I taught them OKRs, and we got them very clear on what the vision and the goals of the company for the business owner were. We had the business owner leading the team, leading the managers, speaking into them the motivation and the vision and the excitement and the purpose and the mission of the company and where they were headed. And then the first thing we did was we just allowed open brainstorming session, because I think the business owners and the managers needed to hear the amazing feedback and ideas that were happening in the lower levels that were being ignored and neglected. And so we had an open brainstorming session, and the managers were speechless the whole time. And the business owner was like, I wish I listened to them sooner. I wish we did this sooner, because we started implementing. So we set OKRs so the business owner sets the vision and the OKR, the objectives and key results. It's usually like a certain amount of revenue, a certain place they want the business to get to. Then the managers set their OKRs for their team. So if it's client fulfillment, we want certain results for clients. For sales, we want certain results. For operations, we want certain results. And then the team members look at both of these OKRs and start setting their own. And this could be not just business projects, but personal projects. Some people really wanted to grow within the company, and they weren't given that progression plan. And so we allowed this to happen for a quarter, 90 days. This was all an experiment, because they were not trusting at all of this process.
Sure.
But then what happened was everyone had one personal OKR and one business OKR, and we let people run with it. They were not allowed to ask permission. This was the hardest part. They were not allowed to ask permission or go to the business owner, because sometimes team members would skip up to the business owner and ask the business owner questions that were just like, that has nothing to do with you. You run with it. You go with it.
Yeah, you mean like asking if this is okay, asking questions about how should I do this?
Yeah. It's like run with it and go with it. Document any successes, any mistakes and failures throughout the process. And then we came together at the end of the 90 days, and it was like, we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep doing this, because the business grew exponentially. Not just in revenue and the profit, like that's obvious, but also the important part was the team was motivated, the clients were happy, and everyone was empowered to do a better job. It's not just to do your job, but to do a better job and to build something that matters, because the vision mattered very much. And that hadn't been communicated before. And everyone was just like, all right, I'm showing up to work and I'm doing this thing and that's that and whatever. I don't contribute anything. Like when somebody feels like they're actually contributing, and there's clear systems and processes and clear documentation and clear communication between everyone thrives. And if there is a failure, and if there is a mistake, and if there is something that goes wrong, that's okay, because there's team mentality there, and everyone comes together to push each other to get through this challenge. Like challenges and problems don't become like, oh, end of the world, putting out a fire. A challenge becomes something that everyone can come together and fix together and be able to run with it. Or it just becomes like, oh yeah, I got it solved. That was like a last week problem. You're a little behind on the times. Like kind of like a joke, like a running joke in the company, because people feel that ownership to where if there is a mistake or if there is a problem, they don't need to wait for the CEO or the business owner or the managers. They just go solve it. And that's that. And it's not a big deal. But no one really does this in entrepreneurship world, it's you feel responsible because you started the business and you feel responsible for everyone and you brought on the team members, so you have to take it all on your shoulders, but that's not really sustainable at all. And now, honestly, like I use this example, I use McDonald's because it's like so funny and so silly, but it's true. Like if you walked into a McDonald's and you saw the CEO of McDonald's at that chain taking your order at the cash register, they're the only ones here. The CEO of McDonald's is the only one there. Takes your order in the cash register, goes out to the freezer, prepares the chicken nuggets, which should have been done last night, by the way. Bad CEO. And then comes in and cooks the chicken nuggets for you, takes an order at the drive-thru because the cars are lining up around the block, and then comes back and gives you your chicken nuggets, and they're like half cooked and weird, and you're like, what is this? This is gross. I'm not going to eat this, and then has to give you a refund. That's so silly. That doesn't happen, but it happens as entrepreneurs because we let it happen. Honestly, no one talks about this. No one puts two and two together. Like, this is a business you're running. This has nothing to do with you. This is your vision. This is your mission. This is the impact you're making. This is the people that you're helping. This is a company. This is a business. This is a legal entity, and you need to treat it as such. And this is the way that you do it.
Right.
So I got very excited about that.
I like that a lot.
Did you hear my Cuban voice come out a little bit?
No, we didn't hear the yesterday and Saturday and stuff like that.
I'm going to put down my sleeves now.
There are a couple of examples. You talk about ownership and empowerment in the what most people would think of as the rank and file. But Google, they do a thing called 20% time. You might be familiar with their thing where 20% of each week you're supposed to work on your own projects. And within the company, it's for the company, it's their IP, but you work on your thing. And they say that 80% of their good ideas come from that 20% time. Okay, that makes perfect sense. The other, you're probably a little too young to remember. You've got so much business experience for somebody your age. But Hampton Inn, they ran ads with maids, with vacuum cleaners, like action shots of their maids. And you can see these old black and white grainy photos and stuff like that, and they're just grinning their heads off. And the ad is about, why is this maid smiling so big? And the ad is all about how, I think the subhead is, because she can spend $1,000 to make a guest happy. That was the kind of bar that they set. That was the level of empowerment that they had. And they had an amazing reputation while they did that for quite some time. And it was just, everybody was empowered to solve a problem on the spot without having to go get approval. They knew that they were going to be backed up in the way that they solved that problem. There's very much that team mentality. The management is there for the employees. And I loved it. That really informed me. Goodness, I was probably 20, 21 years old when I first saw one of those.
Really?
As an example, as an old example.
Oh, wow.
But it was in a marketing training, like a customer service and marketing expert.
Yeah.
And he was showing that stuff, and it hit me so hard. I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. And then Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Work Week, he found that there was a really easy number with the supplement company he talked about. Every problem seemed to be under $80, every customer service problem. So he was like, okay, if it's under $80, solve it. Don't ever bother me again with this stuff. And it made a huge difference in the business. So
see, that's clear communication, clear systems and processes. You know the numbers, you know what's going on in your business, and you're able to give that freedom to your people, which also gives you freedom in return. And I used to work at a hotel as front desk, and the motto, if you know hotel industries, it's make it right, make it right. And so they didn't care. They're like, do whatever it takes. Give them a free room if you want, which is really expensive. Yep. Do what it takes, and you will never be wrong. We will never punish you or give you consequences for how you made it right, because they looked at the lifetime value of the customer, and that was the most important part to them. Yep. And also this, the hotel franchise or whatever, they wouldn't get their budgeting was determined by the ratings of the customers. So if they had bad ratings, they would get less budget. If they had better ratings, they get better budget. So they also
from corporate?
From corporate.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was basically do whatever it took to give the clients a great experience. And if you had an idea, like if somebody came up to you and like you knew that this person was celebrating their wedding anniversary, and you called the kitchen and say, hey, so-and-so in room whatever is having their wedding anniversary, can you send up some champagne and chocolates and stuff like that? And like you prepare it with rose petals and whatever. Even if that costs money, and even if you didn't ask for permission, you are able to do that, right?
Yeah.
So, but like, I feel like I think that corporation was way more established. Not all entrepreneurs are established, and not all entrepreneurs have budgets like that. So again, it takes looking at setting up the right systems and processes, having that foundation below you for the team to be able to stand on, and for you to be able to stand on. Make sure you have the right people, and then look at the numbers and see what you can do. And like honestly, like the mistakes that happen are so easy to fix if the person felt like they had the responsibility and ownership to fix it. Because problems become bigger problems when this person needs to wait for permission or wait to hear back from you. And like, what if you're away on a business trip or you're speaking or something, and this problem just snowballs, like maybe with a client, and they're like, well, I don't know what this business owner wants to do with this client, and the client is just getting madder and madder and madder, when it could have just been solved with a quick couple of emails and a couple of decisions that needed to be made, right?
When the problem is in between solvers inside the company, boy, a lot of things, I mean, that's the crack that you hear about things falling into right there.
That's where clear roles and responsibilities come in, like assigning people and not just like you're responsible for, emailing clients and managing client account. No, like you're responsible for customer happiness. This is your KPI, your key performance indicator is client happiness. If it is above 90%, you're doing great. If it's below, do whatever it takes to get it back up, right? That's what you are responsible for. And that's also the difference between delegation and leadership. It's versus like giving them tasks to do as responsibilities, or actually giving them something to own, a project, a KPI, an OKR, something that's like, hey, here you go. This is how you're going to contribute and impact this business. What are you going to do with that? And some people might not be able to handle that, and some people will, and those are the people you want to keep in your company.
Right. I'm learning some things here that I didn't expect to be learning. We've talked so much, and I'm still learning an awful lot here. Okay, cool. Well, that's not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
Okay. So we're talking about, goodness, a lot of people things, and when most people think systems, they don't think people. They think the opposite of people. But that's something that we've talked about before. A lot of these systems come back to how people do things, not what technology you use. It's not about a CRM. It's not about voice over IP or a scheduler or any of these online systems. Those things are so easy in the big picture. It's how do you get your people doing the most effective things that they could be doing? And how do you give them that? One of the topics that's come up to me 2 or 3 times during this is the idea of trust. And I've noticed that even with organizations where people do trust each other, like to have their backs in general, or to not second guess them or things like that, there's still you still have to build up their confidence in other places. And it is like kids in certain ways, because kids are people and adults are people. So I mean, why would it not be? But the vision communication, I've done an awful lot of, hey, I'm not gonna get on to you about this. If something goes wrong, let me know. And there's some level of, I talk about how I run a shelter for abused high performers. And so with that, there's some level of just recovery from other places they've been. But there's limits on the thinking that they feel like they're allowed to do. And it's kind of hard to get at those sometimes. Like, just how much are you allowed to think? Just how wild are you allowed to go? And that's not because they feel trapped into thinking a certain way. they feel trapped when they don't trust your intentions toward them as an employer. But once you get past that level, for them to really expand, they have to have a foundation that they can feel solid on. They have to have structure. So that vision, that leadership, I'm realizing there are certain ways that I have not provided that for my people, and that I've limited their ability to really express themselves and grow into that expression. This is such good stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I love this.
So what I believe is that trust comes from clarity.
Yeah.
And whenever there's a lack of trust, there's a lack of clarity.
I believe that. Yeah.
And so
that makes perfect sense.
And that can come from very many different angles. That could be clarity to the team member from the CEO or business owner, or clarity to the business owner from the team member. And so one quick example is how I hired a VA from the Philippines. She is the most amazing person ever. I love her. And she tracks her time using hubstaff.com. And it takes screenshots of her computer. It takes 3 screenshots every 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that. I think 10 minutes. And she has to track it down to the minute, down to the second. Like, she'll press play, she'll start working on something, and then she'll click on something else and she'll start working. And then that's also where payroll happens. I trust her. And it started with that clarity of like, okay, can she do this work? Is she staying on task? Is she working? I actually had somebody, I was just telling this story. I had somebody that I really did trust that I hired in my business, and they were doing really, really well. You okay? You alive?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep listening, but I'm gonna grab some more water while you're
okay. So I had this person that I had running a lot of the operations in my business, and they were watching a webinar on the clock, getting paid for it, buying a program, and not doing any of the work that they were supposed to be doing. And at that point, it was clear to me that that was not what we agreed on. And when I confronted her about it, I was like, hey, I noticed that you were watching a webinar and not working, and they had a lot of reasons and excuses about it. I'm like, that's just not okay with me. And they're like, I didn't know that. I'm like, yes, you did, because it is clearly stated on our contract that you are not to do personal work on the clock. I have screenshots as proof of you doing this, and I'm not paying you for it. That's as simple as that. And so trust was absolutely broken right there for me. But it's like there were checks and balances, and there should be checks and balances for everyone, not just team members, for the business owner as well, where you can have that trust where you can back off. Like I didn't just sit there watching her screen 24/7. I would just
that was my next question. How do you find the time to double check that kind of thing?
No. I would breeze through it through payroll, and it's very obvious to me because also I know how long certain things should take. And the project that she was working on should have taken 30 minutes, and it took 3 hours. And I was like, wait a second. So I went to the screenshots, I took a look. I'm like, she's watching a webinar.
Right.
She's not working on this thing. And then she finished the thing in like 20 minutes. So I'm like, okay, I'm not paying for those 2 hours that she spent on my time. Right. So, so it's not like you need to set up the right systems, the right checks and balances for everyone involved. It's the same thing. Like I have checks and balances on for myself. Like, I have my VA. So like, man, sometimes technology just doesn't work well. And so if it's not working, I'm responsible for that. And I'm supposed to make sure that like it works. And so my VA, I told my VA, you can message me at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday night if this thing hasn't worked. And she will message me. She's like, hey, it hasn't worked. You need to fix it. And I'll go fix it immediately. I take that message very, very seriously because I've empowered her to say, hey, the moment you message me, I will fix it for you. If you don't message me, I won't. And so just make sure. And when you message me, I will take it as seriously as a doctor's appointment, and I will do what I need to do to fix it. And so we built that clarity and that agreement and that trust with each other. And this is like relationship 101 too. Like there's a difference between expectations and agreements. Expectations tend to be kind of one-sided, where it's like, I expect you to pay attention to me 24/7 versus, hey, we agreed that we would, have a weekly date at 4 o'clock each Friday. where are you? You're not here. Oh, I didn't know. No, wait, you did know because we both agreed on it.
It was an explicit thing.
So, like, that's just one side of like kind of like delegating, but also the vision. It is our responsibility as business owners to explain this vision, to clearly communicate it. If we're not clear on it, we can't expect anyone else to be clear on it. We need to spend that time getting that clarity, and we need to spend the time making sure that the team members all have clarity on it, because just because I'm clear on it doesn't mean everyone else is.
Yeah.
And we have to leave room for that.
That's interesting to me. When you're talking about people setting their own goals and making their own projects and not being assigned these projects, that feels so hands-off to me, because I'm just learning to respect the role of the visionary, of the CEO right now. For a long time, I was not clear on the difference between a CEO and a COO. I'd never really thought about it before. And so just learning that, okay, the leadership, the vision, there's a real role there, and it's worth doing, and it's important. Like, it's not being put out to pasture kind of thing when you're in it. There's plenty of hours to be had here. There's plenty of important work to be done there.
Yes.
But this feels like another piece of the same thing, in that if they're coming up with their own visions, okay, what am I here for then? And I know intellectually there are plenty of things I can find to do, but are they getting what they need from me if they're having to come up with their own vision? So I guess it comes back to an ego thing for me again on that. Yep. Interesting.
Okay, so let's change the wording. You're coming up with a vision. They're coming up with the execution. Okay. If that makes it a little bit more clear. So if you're setting the vision.
Don't they need my help with that?
No.
Right.
No. Not unless you want to like micromanage for the rest of your business.
I mean, I really don't. No, not at all. No.
Yes, you can. Like, there's certain things that I don't want to let go of because I love it so much. And so I'm going to be a very big part of it. Operations in my company, I'm going to be a very big part of it. Right. I'm going to contribute a lot to the execution of it because I love it.
Yep.
But there's other areas like marketing and sales. Jeremy, you have it all.
That's the part that I love. Yeah, I love coming up with a marketing project. Let's do this project. Yeah.
So okay, here's the example. I could be very involved in that process where I'm like, well, no, I want you to, I don't want you guys to send these messages. I want you guys to send this other type of message, and I want you to execute it this way, and I want you to do it this way. And I'm like, just saying that makes me feel very overwhelmed because I don't enjoy it either. But
exactly.
Because there's a lot of trust and clarity between us. I know that you guys know my vision. I know that you guys know what I do, what my business is, what my offers are. I trust that you guys have the expertise to execute on it. Do whatever you want. And if it doesn't work, I trust that you guys will make it work. And if it does work, I trust that you guys will expand on that and make it work even better, right? There's that clarity there where we've agreed on something. And if you don't deliver, in the end of the day, it is my responsibility because it is my business and I need to make sure it works. And there's still like, you have to kind of like look at sorry, because my headphones keep falling out of my ears. You have to look at where you're going to spend your time and if it's really worth micromanaging in a certain area. If you know this person's going to do it better than you, faster than you, more efficiently, and probably going to improve that whole process more than you have in the past couple of months or years, however long you've been trying to fix that. And you have to look at, do I have the right person here? Is this a right fit? Is this, do I have the process for it? Excuse me, I didn't have any process for what you guys are doing. You guys created it for me, which is even better because I didn't have to, right? Even less, like that's even more time that I had to do things that energized me and to set more of my vision of where I want this to go and to do other things that were coming up. And that wouldn't have happened if I didn't let go. And it wouldn't have happened if I just sat there. Like, let's say we started working together and I gave you nothing. Like, I answered those questions with like one sentence, like BS answers, like what's your offer? The group program. Yeah. Who's your target audience?
I actually have in those
people.
documents now. If you give me paragraphs, we'll get this over to the copywriter faster. If you give me sentences, we have a lot of work to do before the copywriter can start. So
Exactly.
so with this, when it sounds to me like one of the things that you're saying here is if you're micromanaging someone, then there's a problem happening, and it's either, I mean, it could be an ego problem, but it could be that you've got the wrong person, or that you don't have enough processes in place for that person to understand what's going on. But manage them harder is almost never going to be the answer. Does that sound,
Yep.
is that an accurate paraphrase? Okay.
Because managing harder, what does that mean? Like, it's kind of like
I don't
having
even
someone
know. I just
behind your
made that
back
up
looking
now.
at the computer screen. You're doing that wrong. You're doing
Right.
it wrong. Like,
Right.
no, that's never going to work. But,
Right.
yeah, you know, communication is
Mm-hmm.
always going to work. Over communication is always going to work. And having
Right.
clarity as far as like, hey, okay, let's say, okay, my VA messes up a lot. A
Sure.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a big problem because first of all, I know that the stuff that I give her has a very clear process and is very clearly documented. So if she makes a mistake, it's a human error, and I'm very forgiving with that. We're humans. We're never gonna get everything right. So what I'll do is I'll gently remind her. It's like, oh, hey, thank you so much for doing this thing, and I noticed that you made this little thing. It's only happened once. Just keep an eye out for it. Done. Simple.
Yeah.
If it's something that happens on a repeated basis, which fortunately hasn't happened with my VA, but if it does, if it were to happen, I would have to question like, okay, what's going on? Is there something happening? So we're going to have a human to human conversation. It's like, hey, how are you doing? And I've had this happen with a different VA where they were messing up things on a consistent basis. And she's like, I'm going through a divorce. I might lose my kids. I'm in a really bad situation right now. I'm like, oh, okay. You don't even have the bandwidth to do this right now. So does it make sense for us to continue working together, or can we put you in somewhere different that doesn't take up as much of your energy and your bandwidth? Like, what can we do here? We just solved that problem. Or if they're like, yeah, everything's fine. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go through this process again. I just want to see if there's any way that we can make it better for you. And so I noticed that the documentation here says for you to do this, but you're doing that instead. What's going on here? And they're like, oh, I totally forgot. I forgot that you wanted it done that way. I guess I just haven't checked the documentation in a while. Like, oh, okay, cool. So how about we do some documentation reviews every month? And that way, if you find a better way to do it, you can contribute to that, and you can update this SOP, standard operating procedure, or just to have a quick breezy reminder. Okay, so how about you add that to your task list to review this every month? Problem solved.
That is one of the biggest differences in mindset that I hear from you than from just about anybody else who talks about systems, authors included. And that is that most of them, they talk about systems as a way to, well, they say it like hold people accountable, but what they mean is to set the bar in such a way that if someone is not willing to act like a robot, then you can fire them with a clear conscience. That seems to be the feeling that I get from a few of those people. And you're talking about this in a totally different way, and I love it. I mean, I always have, but
we're
I love
humans. There's a human being on the other side of the computer screen.
Yeah,
it really pisses me off when I see that, because you have to treat people like humans. Like like you can set up a system or an automation and expect it to work, and if it doesn't work, then you can get pissed off because that software sucks, right? And then you could just switch softwares.
But
whatever.
even Zapier fails 3% of the time.
It does. And you know what? They added that amazing feature called auto replay, and you just turn that baby on and you're good to go.
Yep.
Right? But with humans, you have to be a little bit more gentler. Like, this isn't like, okay, why are you in business? To impact other humans, to make their life better, to make them more money, to make them happier in their relationships. But then you're going to treat your team like shit.
Why would that not include your team? Yeah, exactly.
It makes no sense. And it's abuse. It is, I think it is a form of abuse that we don't talk about. And it's emotional, mental, not physical because we're over laptops, but sometimes physical because they're, if you expect your
time.
Exactly. Like you don't give people lunch breaks. It's illegal. It's just illegal. But people try to get away with things that it's no. Yep.
I think we've both seen a lot of abuse in the industries we've worked in. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty incredible. Honestly, people talk shit about corporations and 9-to-5s, but I've seen more abuse behind the scenes of entrepreneurs than I do in corporations. Corporations have HR teams. Corporations have what's it called? It's the group of people that they have checks and balances, and they have like groups of people that are
employee ombudsman.
It's a different name that I'm thinking, but it's okay.
Employee
like they
advocate, employee liaison.
Something like that, where it's like they have somebody to back up the employees and the teams, and they have someone. Right. There's checks and balances on both sides. And if somebody doesn't hit those checks and balances, they're held responsible and they have consequences. Versus in the entrepreneurship world, we kind of think like, oh, solopreneur, it's just my business. I'm going to just treat people however I feel like, and no one's going to know unless like they go and sue me, which could happen. But I think it's like our responsibilities to build an amazing business that impacts people and to also impact our team. And the more that our team grows with us, the better everyone is.
Agreed. 100%. I want to take a minute here. We've got a few people watching, and I want to say that if you want to come on and ask some questions, then now's the time. So I'm going to put the Zoom link here in the comments.
Ooh, that's fun.
Ooh, right?
I've never done that before. I like that.
Yeah, it's messy. I don't know if I recommend it, but it's the best way we've got right now.
The thing is, I love talking to people. So like sometimes I get really bored just being on live stream by myself. Like I even like this because it's us two talking.
Yeah.
But like I've thought of bringing people onto a Facebook Live to just be able to be like, hey, let's talk. Right?
Totally.
'Cause I like that.
Totally. Yeah.
But then I also don't want like really, really creepy people. Like, because for some reason, like people find my profile like really creepy dudes that say really weird things. How do they find? How?
What do you mean? How they find? Once you have 2,000 friends, Facebook starts recommending you to all kinds of people.
To creepy people? Why is Facebook recommending me to creepy people?
No, it's some people are creepy, and those are the ones that stand out.
It just makes like, because I'll have like comments from all of my friends or friends of friends, and then random person that is nowhere near connected to me says some very extra creepy sexual comment on my post. I'm like, whoa, no, delete.
That's
or in my
happens
inbox
with women online. Yeah.
Another thing I want to
change. #blessed to be a dude. Sorry about that. Can't do nothing for you.
Wait, Kyrie was on here. He should just hop on just so we can.
Yeah, Kyrie, do you need help with systems?
Wait, everybody, if you see Kyrie all over in this chat, I want you to click on his name and then go to his profile. Oh, it's not letting me go to his profile. But go to his profile, click on message, and then wave at him. He loves it.
Everybody go wave at Kyrie. Everybody.
He loves that. That's
his favorite thing. He will be so happy with that.
Right.
So while we're waiting for anybody who wants to jump on there, and
probably not. They're scared of me.
Right. It's the hair. It's definitely the hair. Let's keep going, and we can have more than one person on at once. Feel free to jump on, everybody. But with the metrics that you were talking about before we even started, you mentioned the number one metric you should be tracking to increase profit and ROI. Let's get into what that is. It's good blind copy, by the way.
What do you think it is?
What do I think it is? I'm going to say it's the length of time it takes to do things right. Like and consequently the amount that you're paying to get that thing done right. And I don't have a really easy way to say that, but that's my guess. Close, okay. Far away? What do you think?
Close.
Okay.
Close. It's more generalized than that, but time.
Okay.
I think time is a metric that entrepreneurs need to be tracking.
We do not track time except for a we've got a few hourly people, but other than that, we do not track time at TCE. And I've seen an awful lot of ways that has hurt us, and I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions about how to implement that properly without all my people running away screaming. That's what I'm afraid of with time tracking.
Rescue Time and Timing App. Rescue Time runs in the background of your desktop and tracks every single app, every single website, every single thing that you do on your computer. And then you can open up the dashboard and see what you've been doing. Timing App also tracks everything in the background, but there's more input that needs to be, that you need to give more input as far as like what categories and what things you were doing. So Rescue Time is usually the easier one, and Timing App is paid. But
so Timing App is more like a billable hours kind of thing, and what project does this get billed to?
No, it's the same as Rescue Time, except for I could actually share my screen and show you guys because I have both.
I used Rescue Time a while back, and I was kind of disappointed in its lack of granularity. Like I was like, I'm not really learning anything from that, but maybe I was using it wrong.
When and how?
A year and a half ago, and then a while before that, maybe 5 years ago, something like that. It's been a while.
Okay. If I share my screen, will everyone be able to see it?
We do, yes.
Okay. So this is Timing App. So it already was tracking all of the apps that I was using and all of the things that I was doing, all of the websites I was on. And then I had to go in and set categories for those things. So you see, I think this gray thing is me not even categorizing anything. Yeah, I forgot to categorize 32 hours of my life. So then you could set things as productive or unproductive. And this is the same thing that you would have to do in Rescue Time, just a lot less work. They already have they automatically categorize things for you in Rescue Time, and you can start to set whether things are productive or not. Hold on, let me stop sharing and open my desktop so I can show you guys Rescue Time as well. RescueTime.com. So it depends on how you are using it, because there's certain things that you want to look at, and then there's other things that don't really matter. But so, for example, a lot of people don't separate personal and business even on their laptops. So I have different browsers for different things. Like my Safari is personal, my Google Chrome is clients, and then my Firefox is usually like done for you clients or something like that. It depends on like what's going on. I separate that completely because I need to separate my headspace based off of what I'm doing. And I actually just bought an iPad. So I'm doing more business on my laptop and more personal on my iPad. But here we go. I'm logged in.
Except if you've got an iPad, I'm going to want you to log into your LinkedIn and redo your LinkedIn headline, because you get 219 characters instead of 121.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's bizarre.
So like most people look at like, oh, wow, I was productive. Yay. That doesn't really matter. What really matters is what you are spending time on. Oh man, my Facebook is still up there. That sucks. I was hoping it wasn't.
All right.
Honest view into Kat's productivity. So, yeah, I tend to like to look at daily. Let me kind of explain how I look into my clients' accounts, because I usually have my clients set this up, and then I look at specific things, because sometimes people will just look at like the monthly, and it's like, wow, I spent like this amount of time like on my business, and I spent this amount of time on social media, which is a good start. Like if you're spending way too much time on social media, it's going to be very obvious here.
Well, I mean, mine's going to show up as 4.5 hours a day on Facebook right now, because I'm doing these 2-hour lives a day.
Yeah, so that's okay.
I just don't know how much insight I'm really going to get from this kind of thing. That was kind of the issue that I had. It was like, I use a lot of these things for different purposes, so how do I know how I'm using it here?
That's why you separate browsers, or separate. Set an intention for certain things. So like now my iPad, I spent a lot of time on like different courses and programs and things that I was learning and reading. I've moved that over to my iPad. It used to be on my Safari browser. And then, for example, like client time, I have specific, or like back then when I had different types of clients.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I had an agency. I'm just going to give a little bit of context because if not, it won't make sense. I had an agency and I would do done for you work versus just hourly VA a la carte stuff. And I would separate the two to see how much time I was spending on each of the clients. And so this isn't just to see like, oh, wow, I spent an hour in Google Docs. No, like you have to get very specific into each client. It's like, okay, so when I'm working on my done for you clients, I'm spending this much time doing these certain things. And this is where I actually like timing app as well, because you can actually set specific categories, and you can do this on Rescue Time as well, but Rescue Time has their own categories. But I can go in and say, okay, so I was working on a specific client. Hold on, let me see. On my group, you can see how many hours I spent on certain people or certain things. Client onboarding process, 15 hours. Weekly calls, 5 hours. Jeremy, 7FFA event planning. Mark, Jaden, all this stuff, right? The same thing, if I'm taking a course, I could see what course I spent the most time on. So you can get even more granular into categories. So it might just be that like timing app is the better choice for you. I can do well enough with Rescue Time because I've separated things in a way where I know like, okay, this is how much time I spent on these type of activities and this type of area of my business versus the other. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
Then
I'll do whatever you tell me to do with it.
and then my dashboard looks so clean. I wish I could show a client dashboard because it looks so different, or like I would probably have to scroll down for ages to see like what my dashboard used to look like, because it was not this blue. There's a good amount of Facebook, and well, Loom is productive, but then it's like, okay, this is my email, 54 minutes of email. That's so much better than what I used to be. This is also accountability, because since it tracks in the background, you can't hide anything. Oh my God, funny story.
Now, one thing while you collect your thoughts on that story, is it tracking the in focus tab? Because I leave all my tabs like pinned and open all day. Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep. Look at all my tabs. I'm not even showing you Safari. My Safari has so many tabs open. In focus, what you're spending time on. And if you do decide to pay for Rescue Time, you can also like track offline time. Like if you go idle, or if you want to block certain things, you can block for like productivity stuff.
Pretty much my offline time is either cooking, eating, or sleeping, recreation. That's about it. Okay.
I actually tracked offline time in timing app.
I saw that.
Non-computer activities, doctor appointment, TV and video games. So I have my categories here. For all my categories. So you can set your own categories, and it's a little bit of manual work up front, which is why I usually tell people to go into Rescue Time first to get kind of clear of like, where are you spending your time? What are you actually doing? What clients are you working on? What categories do you have? Because you can change that in Rescue Time as well. But then you want to see, okay, so for example, I was spending a lot of time on emails and not enough time on marketing and sales. That obviously impacted how much money I made that month. And I was able to correlate exactly where I was putting my time. And you could just make even just basic categories: marketing, sales, admin, and let's say personal. You could like make very broad categories and see when you track your time and you spend 10 hours on marketing, 10 hours in sales, and 1 hour in admin. How does that impact the results of your business? I'm going to stop screen sharing because I can tell my computer's slowing down. How does that impact your revenue? How does that impact your profit? How does that impact how your team is feeling? You should also be tracking your team's time, even if you're not paying them hourly. You want to see maybe a task that should take an hour is taking them 3 hours, and you can be like, oh, wait, whoa, what's happening? And maybe they were missing something as part of the process to make their job easier. And then the same thing for you. If it takes you 3 hours to do something, when it takes one of your team members 1 hour, it's going to become very obvious for you that you need to let that go and give it to somebody else who's better at that than you are. Now,
that's still the Rescue Time kind of thing is not going to give us granularity, the visibility, I mean, into the actual tasks that they're better at than me. So we have to have some kind of a billable billable time thing, like bill this time to that project and log time on this project, and Teamwork can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
to specific clients, you mean, and to specific projects.
Yeah, either okay, I'm working on this internal project or I'm working on a client, but I mean the day should be accounted for.
Yeah.
Do you do that plus a rescue time kind of thing, or
Yes.
is one? Oh, interesting.
Here's the thing. No one wants to track their time, so remembering to turn on a time tracker is the worst. Like,
Yeah.
I don't expect people to remember. I've had people that's like, oh, I forgot to turn the time tracker on, but I worked 2 hours, I promise. I'm like, all right, let me see your rescue time.
Okay. So it's almost like a backup then, so that they can get paid for hours.
Well, no. If they want to get paid for the hours, they need to track their time. And for me, I use Hubstaff. You can use Teamwork or Toggle or timesheets, whatever you want. But if somebody wants to get paid, they have to track their hours. Simple as that. Like, if you can't track your hours, you're not going to get paid. That's simple.
Okay.
For the matter of growing the business, making sure things are productive and efficient, I like to have rescue time because it does not lie. You can lie in your timesheets. You can lie when you're tracking time. You can say, I spent 2 hours working on this thing, but maybe it was an hour working on this other thing and an hour working on this other thing, but they forgot to switch the timer. But they're getting paid. That's fine.
Right.
Rescue time doesn't lie. I can see exactly what websites they were on, at what time they were on it, for how long they were on it, what app they were using, what was going on.
And is that not invasive? Like for employees who are not that tech savvy and they don't know how to like remove their own personal stuff from the equation, how does that work? That feels
It's very invasive.
Yeah.
It's very invasive.
It feels
so
really
I don't
uncomfortable to me.
I don't go it. Well, you're going to be sharing your rescue time with me. Just warning.
Sure, I'm fine with sharing my own. I'm not fine with invading my employees' space like that.
This is obviously somebody can say no to you. First of all, you could say no to me. I'm not going to force you to share your rescue time.
I'm fine with it. Yeah.
This isn't also a accountability. Like, this is why we're separating. Sorry, my headphones are all over the place. This is separating getting paid for the job being done and the times that you're tracking versus productivity and efficiency.
But that rescue time, I mean, what do you say? Just turn it off when you're done? Can you turn it off so that their personal hours?
Yeah, you can turn it off by closing the app. Yeah.
Okay, well that's simple enough.
Yeah, and then you can easily delete things. Like it's a click of a button and you delete things. Like I've had clients where they're like,
that time just goes back to unaccounted or no project or some.
Yeah, yeah. That I've had clients delete things on their rescue time. I've had clients say, "Hey, you're gonna see some weird things. Don't judge me." I'm like, "All right, I don't judge anyone." I've had people sit me down for a very serious conversation. They're like, all right, this is what you're going to see in my rescue time. I'm just putting it all out on the table just so that you're not shocked. And I'm like, okay, I wasn't going to be shocked. I'm a very open-minded person. But that's the thing. This comes back to trust and clarity. Why are you checking someone's rescue time? It is to benefit them. It is not to hold them accountable or to make them a robot or to make them feel bad for what they're doing. It's just to look at, so for example, with me and my clients, I will look at the rescue time and be like, hey, it seems like you spent 10 hours on Facebook this week. Did you enjoy that? Did you like it? Are you okay with that number? If you had those 10 hours back, what would you do with it instead? These are questions to enhance growth versus being like, wow, you spent 10 hours on Facebook. You wasted so much time. Yeah. That's not the conversation. I don't care. I don't care that this person's been on Facebook for 10 hours, but do they care? Yeah. And if they do care, and if they do want to cut it out, okay, great. Rescue time can help you cut it down. You can set a limit to only Facebook for 5 hours. Yeah. Right. Versus
this is one of those things for me that coming from being a solopreneur into, we've got 13 people now and like building a real corporation TM, figuring out the HR implications of this kind of thing on a personal computer, that's really the only thing that gets
also
me.
You don't have to do this for them. Like, they're adults, they can set up rescue time themselves and then just have them do a weekly time check-in, like, hey, check your rescue time this week and see how you feel about it. Actually, you guys do that for my clients. We do income reports. Hey,
I like that.
I am asking how much money everyone's making, but if somebody's not comfortable telling me that number, that's fine. But I want them to look at that number and say, I made this much money. Am I happy with it or am I not?
I can
That's
definitely do that with employees. Yeah, that'll be totally okay.
Yep. Yeah. By the way, like the examples I give to my clients, like my clients allow me, it's in the contract, like this is how I'm going to help them. Team members a little bit different.
Yeah.
Time tracking is important for them getting paid if they're an hourly, but they don't have to show you your rescue time. Like I've done it for a couple of my contractors to be nice because they were like, how do you get so much done? I want to know your secret. Yeah. My secret is rescue time, guys. It's not that hard.
Sure, I'm happy to help is a very different position than I need to see your thing. Yeah.
I think it's just my mindset is always, and I'm happy to help and not the other thing. So I forget that actually happens more than anything else. But no. This isn't.
I know so many solopreneurs that would go nuts on that and that have gone nuts on that, like checking up on people that like, that's going to ruin the relationship real fast.
Oh yeah, very, very fast. And I'll tell people straight up, it's like, hey, we have these checks and balances, like Hubstaff, the 3 screenshots. I'm like, it's part of the program. It'll take screenshots. Obviously, like if you have any personal stuff going on, I might see it. So just don't do that on the clock. But I'm like, I'll check it in the beginning just to make sure that you're doing well. And if I notice something that I can help you with, I will tell you. This is not a, hey, what were you doing here? Yeah. That's not at all.
So the framing is very different.
Very different. It's like, hey, this will help me spot areas that I can help you. Yeah. And if I see that my VA is doing something that I know she can do faster, I could be like, oh, hey, wait, this must be frustrating.
Let me show you a better way.
And I'm usually spot on. Like when you know your process and you have a very clear process and system, you can spot things like that. It's like, yeah, you know what? I used to make that same mistake. Thank you, because now I can add it to the standard operating procedure and make sure that no one else does it. Let's do this together. Let's make it better. Versus you're doing that wrong. How could you do that? Like blaming and shaming. That doesn't ever work at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
You are a master of framing. You're really good at that stuff. You really are. And this is from one master of framing to another. I'm really good at framing things well. And boy, you've got a lot of skill built up in that.
Really? I guess it's my intention's very clear.
Yep.
My intention is to help people and to help people become their better versions of themselves. And that might not be a culture fit. Somebody that comes in and doesn't want to be challenged or pushed to be better or doesn't want to make an impact is just not going to fit with me. And if they want to stay where they're at,
from that. Yeah.
But the people that I work with love being challenged like that. They love, and I hate now that we're saying accountability as like a bad thing, but it is kind of like accountability to yourself.
There's a lot of good things about it. Some people use it in limited and unpleasant ways, but it's very important. Yeah. Like that honestly comes to a shock. It comes to a shock for me because I'm not in that headspace at all. So it's hard. Like I've very clearly defined who I want to be as a leader, how I want to treat people, how I want to make people better. And it bleeds into every relationship I have. You could ask my friends, you could ask my family, you could ask you people I meet. I can't turn that off because that's just who I've decided I want to be. That's who I choose to be in this world. And I feel like more people, I want to see more people do that, especially with their teams and with their businesses, because there's that one side of like, if something happens in your life, these are the people that are going to have your back when it comes to your business and are going to keep making the impact if you can't. Like if you're in a car crash or if something happens and you need some time off, or if you just want to take a vacation, these are the people that are going to allow you to have that. So why wouldn't you treat them with respect and with care and push them to become better? Because the better that they become, the better you become, and the better everyone becomes. Like you know, a rising tide lifts all ships. All ships. Yep.
Yay, I got it right.
I actually, okay, so two things about that last statement. I say regularly, well, my people are the best thing about me. And I literally wrote into our people analyzer kind of thing from the traction, that the rising tide mentality. Like, do they have the rising tide thinking? That is a big, big deal to me. That's just interesting that you called those two things out that are so close Like in 2 sentences there. That's cool.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So I think
Wow.
it's just important, and that's just the way that I think. And if I'm thinking any other way, it's a lapse of judgment, and I bounce
Yeah.
back very fast,
Yeah.
very fast.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever truly been mad at anyone I've ever hired because it's just not a personal thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an emotional thing to me. It's a
Interesting.
business thing to me. And if
Yeah.
somebody messes up, it is my responsibility. And I cannot afford to be
Mm-hmm.
mad or emotional in that moment.
Yeah.
It is my responsibility to get clarity for both of us and to resolve the situation for both of us and to have us both leave as better people.
Yeah, that's very interesting because the way that you talk in that in those kind of correctional conversations that you were mentioning earlier, there's a great management lesson in there. You keep yourself from getting mad by dealing with the problem very quickly. You'll never have to get mad at people if you deal with the problem at the beginning. It's like the fourth time, oh, I ran into a door, kind of, oh, it was my fault, really. It's when we start blaming ourselves for staying in a situation. That's every time I found myself angry at an employee. Oh, I'm angry at myself for letting this employee do that to me. It didn't have to be that way. If I had just paid more attention and stopped it sooner, and okay, well, that's
There's
it right
also,
there.
yeah,
So I was
there's
really
also
angry at myself the whole time.
Yeah. And then again, this goes back to checks and balances,
Mm-hmm.
KPIs, OKRs. Like there's
Yeah.
ways of tracking things where you don't have to be paying attention all the time. Like
Right.
I don't pay attention to their screenshots all the time. I just
Mm-hmm.
breeze through them at payroll and then I pay her and I'm done. And
Yeah.
if there's something weird, I call it out, but I haven't had to.
Right.
So I had to with that other person with the webinar. But
Mm-hmm.
same thing with OKRs. I actually track my clients' OKRs
Mm-hmm.
and we use 15.5 and it
Mm-hmm.
asks you every week 15.5s are due. You're going to be doing these.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions is, how are you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's not feeling good, I'm going to find out why immediately that day
Mm-hmm.
because I am their support system as a leader,
Mm-hmm.
not just for clients, but for team. I feel like I am that support system or
Yeah.
an HR
Mm-hmm.
section would be.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we just need to have human conversations. Like maybe somebody's
Yeah.
just having a bad day. Maybe somebody had to evacuate and doesn't have Wi-Fi and they're struggling to get
Mm-hmm.
their job done. Like human things will affect the business and we just have to expect that and we have to
Yeah.
prepare for it and we have to have the systems and the tracking for that. And
Mm-hmm.
then there just might be where somebody's just not doing a good job and like there's KPIs and OKRs and there's responsibility there and we
Mm-hmm.
can support them to push past whatever challenge they're going through or to just be very honest. It's like, hey, we need this to work,
Mm-hmm.
not tomorrow, but today.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something you're missing from me to be successful in this role?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this just not working out for you? And do we need to shift things? Right.
That's the kind of attitude. It's the okay, I'm not going to take your responsibility on myself here. If there's something I'm responsible for and I can help, then I will. But it's up to you to tell me whether this is getting done and whether you want to do this thing
Yep.
in the time frame it has to be done. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
that makes a lot of sense. There's a book called Discipline Without Punishment,
Hmm.
and it's a management book, and it comes from a Frito-Lay's factory where they had horrible morale, very low productivity, and the kind of the tipping point, the final straw for corporate to come down on that factory was someone was printing or somehow getting curse words on the potato chips themselves. I don't even know how that would work, but it was happening. And so just horrible morale, bad relationships all around. And that was one of the kind of things that they implemented was a kind of a, okay, take a very long weekend here and decide if this is for you kind of thing. And it was very, very clear. It was not a harsh kind of thing. And I've seen other people, I mean, since it is a relatively famous older management book, I've seen some people do that kind of thing and do it poorly. Like they're not coming from the right mindset. They're not coming from a how can I help you, a servant leadership mindset. So it's not about the technique itself, it's about the mindset behind it.
Yeah.
And it makes a huge, huge difference. But you can hear it in
Yeah.
every word that you're saying there.
Okay, here's a good example.
Okay.
I introduced you to Jacob. Jacob is one of my new friends.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he
Jacob, long last name?
Jacob Burke.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you did.
Well, I
Okay.
didn't I introed Laura, but I told him about you.
Okay.
Or I told you get to whatever. Anyways,
Anyway.
so he was a bodybuilder and is really smart when it comes to like science and fitness and health and stuff. And he
Okay.
was giving us a little bit of insight into like what he knows. And I
Mhm.
was very interested in it. And I expressed that I wanted to be stronger and I wanted to be fit and healthy. And he said, I can help you. There's the invitation.
Mm-hmm.
I said yes to that invitation.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Right.
But first day, and because Gabe and him went to the gym a week before I did.
Mm-hmm.
And then I joined in and Gabe was so sore. So I was expecting to be sore, but I wasn't expecting, like, honestly, the first day I almost cried. Like, I almost cried.
Like mental destruction kind
Yes.
of sore. Yeah.
Yes. And I didn't realize how bad my mental talk was to myself.
Mm.
And I wasn't expecting him to push me. Like, he has an on and off switch. His on switch goes on and he's on the gym Jacob is what I call it in my head. And I need to just not take it personally. And I just need to go with it.
Right.
He's eased up a little bit. He's been more silly and fun, but he was like boot camp. It felt like boot camp for me. Because I'm used to trainers that just go in and they're like, oh, you can do whatever you want. Yeah, whatever. Have a fun time. No, he was like, if you want to grow, you need to do this. Yeah. And I'm not going to baby you because I'm not going to be here to train you forever. I'm not your trainer. I'm your friend giving you clear guidance on what to do.
Yeah.
That was his intention.
Yeah.
And then same thing with eating. You have to eat more. You're starving yourself. This is not okay. And I was eating like 3 meals a day. I thought I was eating perfectly fine amounts of food. I needed to eat.
But not nearly enough protein for those goals. Mm-hmm.
Carbs, actually. Carbs is my issue.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So anyways, that was really tough. And there was clarity between both of us where we agreed that I wanted help. He was going to help me. And I knew that the way he was helping me was pushing me and challenging me to become a better version of myself. And I knew that if I could get through this rough couple of first weeks, I would be a better person. And it's the same thing when you hire somebody. You make an invitation. Hey, I have this position for you. I think you're the right fit. I think you can do it. What do you say? And somebody says yes to whatever the offer is, whatever the pay is, whatever the role is, the responsibilities. It's a responsibility that you're coming into. They get situated. It's going to be rough in the beginning because they have to learn a lot of new things and they have to learn a new way of being and a new role, a new position, and new people. There's a lot of new things going on, a lot of new stimulus. So being gentle, but also still like setting that expectation of like, I trust you and I know you can do this and I know you can handle this. So I'm going to give you everything you need to be successful. Jacob showed me around with the machines. He was making sure that my posture was correct. If I was doing something with incorrect posture, he came over immediately and was like, okay, fix this. But then for other simple things was like, okay, do this step up. And I'm like, I feel lightheaded. And he's like, too bad. Take a breath, take a minute, and then keep at it. Like he knew where to push me and where to take care of me because he's done this before. Right. And this is where clear systems come in. Like you've done this before, you know the process, you know how it's supposed to work. So support this person and push them to do it the way that it's supposed to be done and correct them when they're doing it wrong so that they are not detrimental to themselves and to their job. And also don't baby them. Let them run with it. Let them go with it. Let them figure it out and let them make the mistakes because if they make the mistakes sooner rather than later, they're going to be tiny mistakes versus big problems that you have to put out or you have to review or they need you to be able to fix this thing. Right. Right. And that was really important for me because it's happened where I've hired a health coach or I've hired a trainer and they trained me for a year and then they stop and I fall off and I go back to exactly the same way I was. So it's a good balance of helping people become better versions of themselves and helping them take ownership and responsibility of that and also not babying them, but being there to correct when things are really, really bad. Like you can spot a mile away of like, wait, whoa, I can help you with this. Let's not do this thing. This is not good for you or me or the company or the clients, right? Yeah. Let's do it this way. And I know you've got it handled. There's that clear agreement. There's the clear vision, systems, processes, all of these things. Like it takes a foundation to lift people up. But when you have that good balance and that intention and mindset, amazing things happen for sure.
Yeah. Okay. With that, you kind of brought out one of the things that I've talked about on and off for a long time, the difference between teaching and training. You can learn a process from a page and do it a couple times, but the correction process is necessary for just about any skill that we have. Coaching and training, and really not just learning it, memorizing it, but learning it muscle memory.
Yeah.
It's a necessary part of the process, and it's not going to happen instantly. That people mess up and people take a while to learn things. We are just not computers. Yeah. So expect to train your people.
Yep.
That's something where I would say most solopreneurs fail to make the jump into business owners rather than self-employed with another person or another couple of people, is they don't make the time to train. And I'm very guilty of this as well. This is part of the reason I'm happy to be working with you, is these processes make it so much easier to train people. But when you have here's the process laid out, now let's gently course correct all along back to that process until we're on it every time, and we can fall to the level of our training rather than thinking we're going to rise to the level of that training. There's I don't know, it's I say that training is about the highest leverage thing that I can do inside the company. Now that there's 13 of us, I can't think of anything else that is higher leverage than that. And still, putting out fires gets in the way. There's all kinds of things that I can let get in the way. I mean, I could say doing this live right here instead of training someone is getting in the way of that. I should be going off and training someone. So it's kind of fascinating, to me, the mismatch between what I say is important and what I demonstrate is important. And
that comes from tracking your time and self-awareness too. If you're saying that something's important to you, but then you're seeing yourself tracking time and you're seeing yourself spending time somewhere else, you got to look at that.
Yeah, exactly.
Numbers don't lie. It's hard. It's easy to lie to ourselves though.
Yeah.
But
agreed.
Kind of like to what you were saying is like the other thing that people do is like they train people, but they train people to be perfect. I would rather people make the most mistakes during training so that they learn the hard way with me watching, versus you better be perfect. You better not make any mistakes or ask any stupid questions right now. But then when they go out and I'm not watching them anymore and they go actually do something that's client facing, they're making all the mistakes.
Give me an example of each of those. I'm not sure I understand how to.
Okay. Building bots.
Okay.
I started a JV with Scott Wolford, Bots for Business, and I set up a process for it that clients had to fill out forms, and then based off of those forms, we had to create a certain bot using a template that I had. And so I built a couple of bots, and I was like, okay, I want someone else to build them. I hate building these things. I don't want to build it. So we had our community manager who had never really built a bot before, and she's like, I'm scared. I don't know if I can do it. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm going to watch you build a bot. And this bot doesn't matter. If you mess this up, it doesn't matter. I want you to mess it up. I want you to make mistakes. I want you to ask me every single question you have. I want you to watch all of the training. And I want you to come in and be like, I have a stupid question. Can you answer it? And not have any shame or judgment around that. And she did. And she built a bot within an hour and a half. I'm like, great. This should start taking you an hour. Well, actually, no. First, she watched me do it and asked me questions, and then I watched her do one, and she asked me questions. And she built it in an hour and a half. I'm like, great. I'm going to watch one more time. You're going to build this bot. This bot matters now, and I'm going to watch you, and I'm going to make sure that you're doing everything right. And she made a couple of mistakes here and there. I'm like, oh, hey, remember to do this. Remember to check the checklist, because the checklist tells you everything to do. So just double check your work. Oh, hey, wait. So this is where you can be a little creative. You're actually better at writing copy than I am. So you should love this part. You can get creative with this template and write something better based off of the forms. So I'm encouraging her to make it her own.
Yeah.
Versus If I had, first off, if I had no process, that would have been terrible.
Right.
If I,
That's step
um,
one.
step one, step two, if I had her watch me build a bot and like breeze through it really quickly without allowing her to ask me any
Yep.
questions. Or if I shadowed her and I got mad at her every time she messed up, why did you do that? That's stupid. Don't do that. No, like follow the checklist. It's right in your
Or
face.
even just looking at her like she was stupid with the raised eyebrow. That's enough to scare
Oh
people
yeah,
off.
it is. It is like what?
Yeah.
That's stupid. Like you don't want to shame or judge anyone when
Right.
they're learning something for the first
Yeah.
time. You don't look at kids like, oh
You
wow,
don't shame a
stupid,
baby learning to walk.
Right,
You
right.
encourage
So why
them.
do we do
Yeah.
that to team members?
Yeah.
It's so sad. It's so sad. Some
I
people
regard myself as a pretty encouraging person, and I still do that sometimes, and I have to catch myself and apologize and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, especially like some people pick things up faster than others. And if somebody's taking a long time to pick something up, that's fine. That's how they learn. And you might be teaching them or training them the wrong way.
Sure.
Excuse me, I'm a visual learner, but I learn by doing. I hate watching videos. I would rather read and do, read and do.
Yep.
I will get so bored with videos and so unmotivated and probably get
Likewise.
wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's that. And so there were different training materials that I had for her. I had her read checklists. I had her read SOPs. I had her watch a video. I had her do it with me. And then I had her do it herself. Yep. Very many different types of trainings for one small process that should take an hour. Probably took me a whole week to train her on that every day.
I was about to say, that's a huge time investment there.
But then I didn't have to worry about her ever again. I knew she was doing the bots perfectly. I looked at the bots. I was even more impressed because she made better bots than I did. I'm like, you go, girl. You did awesome. I love this. And I even had a process where like in the first couple of bots, I would have her give it to me for me to review. After a couple, I'm like, you're good to go. You're good. I'll do spot checks occasionally, but you're good. And then we also have the accountability with the clients. The clients need to review their bots and make sure that they're good. They had a certain amount of revision. So we had checks and balances still, but she was able to take that on. And it's because she made all of the mistakes and asked all the stupid questions first. And I gave her that space to be a newbie. And then she took it on and made it her own. And I encouraged that throughout the process. Like, hey, you're really good at this. Make it your own. I trust you.
And so you probably spent, what, 12 hours?
Bless you.
Excuse me. You probably spent 12 hours between the make the process, do it on video for her, get her to do it, get her to do it again without guidance from you, but just if she needs you, ask a question, and then the checking behind her, something like that. And then this was can you mention the dollar amount for how much these things cost? It's fine if you can't.
I know that we were selling done for you bots at like 1,000 or 1,500, I think.
Okay, so a $1,500 product is now off your plate, and
it takes 1 hour to get that bot done.
Right. And so now this is a solid process. There's a really solid person to do it, and it's not you. So 3 benefits right there, and it took 12 hours to get there.
Yep.
So, I think there's a lot of leverage available like that. So why don't we wrap this up? There's so much more that I will enjoy talking with you about off camera other times, and I can't wait. But this has been really valuable to me in particular. So did we hit all the points? Let's see. The number one metric you should be tracking.
We jumped everywhere.
We talked about that a lot. Exactly what it takes to unchain yourself from your business and become a free EO.
Yes, teams and systems.
Yeah. How to build and structure your team for maximum efficiency.
Look at where you spend your time and delegate correctly.
And then what are the stages of scaling and where you should
we talked a lot about that one.
Cool. Yeah. Excellent. Cool. I'm glad we got to everything.
Great job.
Wonderful. Great job, everybody. Okay. Well,
oh, look, and it's about to be a beautiful sunset right now.
Wonderful. Great timing.
Perfect timing, right?
I'm a fan. So if people want to get in touch with you, and I highly recommend that they do, and like to the point where if you sign up with us at TCE, in month 3 or month 4, when it's time for you to start scaling, we know you're going to hit certain fulfillment bumps and certain scaling bumps. We will cover the cost of Katya and Lara for you in your business. I mean, it's included. That's how much I believe in this lady right here.
I'm ready to have my hands on some bottlenecks and some business
Yes.
fulfillment
Yes.
problems. I love them. I love them.
Yeah. So if people want to get in touch with you, then, well, you can get in touch with me too. I'll get you over to Katya. So whatever it takes, get in touch with Katya. When you're at that, what stage should people come to you at?
If you're consistently making sales and you're consistently bringing in leads and you're starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed with all the things and you're thinking about hiring or you're thinking about setting up systems, consistent marketing and sales is a crucial point for me. I'm not going to take anybody that's struggling with marketing or sales. That's just not my area of expertise. And I send them over to the closing engine. Yeah. So
that's perfect.
But if you're having a hard
even
time
before they
selling,
start hiring people, it's time.
Oh yeah.
That's when they can get the most benefit. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
We like to take a preventative approach because you don't want to be setting up systems and hiring when you're in a very bad place, in a very busy place. So yeah. But even if you are in that place, we can come in and clean up stuff. So we do both.
She's good at both. She's good at both. So what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so reachandmakemillions.com links out to everything and everywhere that I'm at. You could also look me up, Katia Sarmiento, on all social media. I am very responsive unless I have 50 people message me at the same time. Then that will take me a couple of weeks to get back to those messages. But I always get back to all of my messages. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Yep. Cool. Reachandmakemillions.com. Go there. Check her out. Hire her as soon as you start getting those indicators that we've talked about today. She's this is just scratching the very surface of the stuff that I've learned from Katya personally, and she's fantastic in every way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you. All right. Well, I'm going to end the live stream now.